We are very honored to have a distinguished group, members of Congress here, who have come in to talk with the DAV members. And first up, I'd like to introduce the chairman of the Milcon VA Appropriations Subcommittee, Congressman Chet Edwards of Texas, who's nationally recognized champion for America's veterans, our troops and their family. You know, and if anyone here remembers past National Commander Oliver Meadows, I know Oliver right now is up in heaven, smiling down on us. He was a big fan of Chet Edwards, and in fact, early in Mr. Edwards' career, he worked for Oliver Meadows on the Veterans Affairs Committee staff. So I know Oliver is smiling down. Mr. Edwards, as I said, chairs the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Military Construction and Veterans Affairs. And in 2007, he authored the largest increase in veterans funding in the 77-year history of the Department of Veterans Affairs. An $11.8 billion increase. And the House recently passed the fiscal year 2009 Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriation Bill, building on the historic increases for veterans and troops passed into law last year. Disabled American veterans recently honored Chairman Edwards with our Going to Bat for Veterans Award in 2007. This year, both the American Legion and VFW have honored Congressman Edwards' leadership for veterans with their highest national awards given to only one member of Congress. You know, there's not a lot that hasn't been said about Chairman Edwards, and I can tell you, having worked with him over the years, first when he was on Veterans Affairs, then now Budget and Appropriations, there's no one that works harder for veterans than Chairman Edwards. And largely because of his efforts, VA is now at a level of funding that DAV and the independent budget and other veterans groups believe is necessary to take care of the men and women coming home. And Congressman Edwards has agreed to sign our petition, and we get the petition up here and bring the congressman up. We'll get him to sign the petition, and then I'll turn the mic over to Chairman Edwards.
Thank you very much. Chad, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chad.
Good morning. Joe, thank you for your very gracious and kind comments. I truly am grateful for them. But let me be very clear. I know who the real heroes are in this room, and I'm looking at them right now. Commander Reynolds and leaders of the DAV and DAV Auxiliary, it's a privilege for me to just be in the same room with so many who have done so much for our great nation. Thank you for giving me the honor of being with you this morning. It's also good to be with my two colleagues, my close personal friend, Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley, who has been a champion for veterans here in Las Vegas and for fighting for a new VA hospital right here in this community, a hospital that the veterans of Nevada deserve. Shelley, thank you for your leadership on behalf of our veterans. It's also good to be with my colleague on the Budget Committee, Congressman Porter. Be good to Mr. Porter. He is a member of the very powerful Ways and Means Committee, which makes legal the taxes that we appropriators get to spend in behalf of veterans. John, thank you for your work on behalf of your district and our veterans. The most important thing I want to say this morning is thank you. As the son of a World War II naval aviator who just passed away 4 months ago, and as the father of 2 young sons, aged 11 and 12, thank you for having made this world, through your military service, a better, safer place for my sons and my father's beloved grandsons. For that, I know I can never fully repay you the debt of gratitude I owe you. Thank you for continuing to serve our great country long after you've taken your uniform off. Since the aftermath of World War I, when America's veterans were treated so shabbily, the DAV has always been there to see that the sacrifice of our nation's veterans would not be forgotten. And bless you for that. And I am profoundly grateful. I am profoundly grateful that 34 years ago, 2 DAV leaders, Congressman Olin E. Tiger Teague of Texas, known as Mr. Veteran in Congress for 30 years, the most decorated World War II veteran with 3 silver stars to serve in the Congress, and Oliver Meadows, the DAV former national commander, took me under their wing when I had just graduated from college and was working with Mr. Teague, who had chaired the VA committee for over a dozen years. They taught me one fundamentally important principle, and that is that our nation has a moral obligation to see that we keep our promises to those who have kept their promise to defend our nation. When Congressman Teague, who was known, as I said, Mr. Veteran in Congress for over 3 decades, when he encouraged me to run for Congress back when I was still wet behind the ears, he asked me to make one promise to him. He said, "Chet, if you're ever elected to Congress in this campaign or in the future, make me one promise." I said, "What's that, Mr. Teague?" And he said, "Never forget our veterans." Well, my friends, I don't make many campaign promises. Never have, and I won't start now. The commitment I made that day to Tiger Teague, the great veterans leader, is a commitment I intend to work hard to keep till the day I die. I am. Before I give you a legislative update, and it's a good legislative update, I think, a lot of good news going on in Washington in behalf of veterans, let me thank one more important group here at this convention. I want to pay tribute to the spouses and children of our veterans, because I believe they are the unsung heroes of our nation's defense. They might not have ever worn our nation's uniform, but they have surely served through their personal sacrifices. For 14 years, I represented the largest U.S. Army installation in the world, Fort Hood, Texas. I saw firsthand the daily sacrifices of our military families. I learned there are no makeup days for the missed births of your children and missed birthdays. No makeup days for missed school plays and Little League ball games, and just those very special moments we have with our loved ones, our families, every single day. I cannot even imagine the emotional strain that a spouse must go through while a loved one is in harm's way, worrying that every time that phone rings for that year or 2 years, or even more in the case of many veterans, every time that phone rang, every time someone knocked on that door, they worried it might be that phone call, it might be that knock that they hoped and prayed would never come. For that kind of sacrifice, I salute our military spouses and our veteran spouses and their children, and God bless you for your service to our country.